The loss of a spouse through the cold hands of death and the loss of a spouse through divorce, they look very similar, but they are not the same. Yes, all of them, there is loss, but one comes from choice, and then the other one comes from something that hits you really hard. So, choosing to divorce, I mean, you must have thought about it. You must have said, okay, decided that this is the best thing to do. Unlike losing your spouse to the cold hands of death, you didn't choose it. You didn't decide that things should go that way. It happened. Okay, so when it comes to the divorce, for example, I will always say, yes, there are marriages that warrant divorce, to be honest. There are some marriages that are far worse than being single. If you're in a marriage where your life is at stake, it's better off being single than ending up as a corpse in that marriage. Don't try to stay married because you want to please people, you want to have a name. I've told people, even though as counselors we fight against divorce, in fact, divorce is the least on our list. Is the last, sorry, the last on our list. But there are areas that there are things that, yes, we will say divorce should be granted. If your life is at stake, please, you are better off as a single. And again, these are some other situations. We have talked about lives being at stake. And sometimes we quickly just look at the physical, maybe violence, domestic violence, and physical abuse and all of that. But there is one that is even putting your life at risk the same way. Health. If you're married to someone who constantly cheats, I mean, they cheat, they're a chronic cheat. They cheat with no remorse. And you have already been infected maybe with STDs once. Maybe not once, not twice, not thrice. You might need to rethink. Because again, that is your life at risk. When HIV/AIDS will come, hepatitis B will come, and other STDs will come, you might not be able to do away with them. So a man or a woman who is a cheat that has refused to repent and is exposing your life at risk, if you have to stay married to such a person, you must consider either, yes, using preservatives or not having any intimacy at all. And if there is a must for intimacy, you might think of leaving. Now, let me look at divorce. Okay, now, generally, let's talk about the divorce. Yes, divorce will come with emotions, anger, sadness, even if you're the one that decided to leave. Again, you have shared part of your life with this person. So it's been normal that you're going to feel some pains, you're going to feel heartbroken, you're going to feel sad for a moment, even confused if that's the right decision you took. All of these feelings are going to come. But you can, put yourself together by understanding that divorce is not failure, especially if you left that marriage for good, for a right reason. So you will encourage yourself. Divorce is not failure. You take care of yourself. At the end of the day, it's you. Without you, you can't even do anything. So self-care is very important. And then you seek support. Go for therapy. Go get counseling. Talk with the counselor on how you feel. Express those feelings so that you can, be walked through whatever it is that you're feeling. Then one thing for sure is be patient with yourself. Be forgiving. If you don't forgive whoever you were with, maybe for whatever they did before you left, if you don't forgive them, you will be carrying a lot of load and burden, and you'll not be able to move on with your life. So forgiveness is paramount when it comes to divorce. And again, one thing you should know is that you were living before you met this person, and life can still be amazing even without them. So you can choose to move on and be happy, but of course set boundaries, so you don't have any maybe unnecessary conflicts or drama with whoever you got divorced with. Now, I want to focus more on the loss of a spouse through the cold hands of death. The loss of a spouse through the cold hands of death is something I don't know if anybody who has not been there can explain this. As counselors, we may try to paint the picture of how this looks like, but again, we have not. I've not personally worn those shoes, so I don't know where it's pinching. But one thing for sure is talking to people who have gone through this. You realize that there is a lot of helplessness and there's a lot of emptiness. I mean, life becomes so empty, life becomes so helpless, life becomes even so hopeless. When you lost someone through the cold hands of death, it hits really hard. And this topic, I think it's something that we should, it's a kind of like a call for us to prepare for this, because whether we like it or not, at one moment in time, one person is gonna go. Yes, some spouses have been privileged to die. Maybe I call it privilege because living without the other after death is not an easy thing. So maybe some have died together, and so nobody had to feel the pains of living without the other. But you bear with me that it's not easy to live your life with someone, share your life with someone, do a lot of things with someone, and then at the end of the day they are not there. It's gonna hit you really hard. It's not a pain that what can describe. It's not a feeling that anybody can comprehend. It's way behind. It's way beyond imagination. So you feel so. I mean, you see people that have been there. They may barely even do anything even after a year or two. They become so weak. I mean, it's like the other spouse took a part of them away, and just a part is remaining. And I think this is something that we should all get prepared for. Like I was trying to say, we should get prepared for this, because you were living your life before you met this person, and eventually maybe you might live your life later on alone without this same person. So that's why we make a lot of emphasis. How are you living as a single? Because even, okay, let's say you get married and then the marriage ends that way, maybe after years or few years or whatever. How will you pick up your pieces, pick up your life and then move on again? This will all depend on how you were living your life even before you met this person. And that's why we encourage people, we encourage the singles in particular, have a life you're living. Don't just sit and wait for marriage. So if the marriage crumbles, if the marriage dies, what happens? Then your life ends equally. But if you have something you were pursuing, if you have what you were doing even before you got married, and it happens that the marriage came, maybe divorce came up, or the cold hands of death snatched that person, okay, you can still go back to the way you were living before. So we discourage singles sitting and waiting for marriage, because one day you're gonna end up single again. Maybe you or maybe them. Okay, so now I was talking about the aspect of divorce. The losing a spouse through death. It's sometimes something that people want to run away from. I mean, it has happened, but you find it difficult to believe that this is true. I mean, I will never see him, I will never see her. They are gone. So the probability of living with denial is very high. They might want to be, no, my husband is not dead, my wife is not dead. No, I'm sure they will come back again. I'm sure maybe in the evening I always sit and wait for them to come back. I'm sure they're going to come back again. Living in denial is just procrastinating and making your healing longer. As bad as it is, you must accept that what has happened has happened. And grief comes differently for different to different people. Again, it depends on how your marriage too was, because how you were together as a couple will determine how you're going to feel your loss. Let's say a couple that were never in good terms, they were always at loggerheads. One person dies, it could be possible for the other person to leave, because after all they've been living that way without the other. But for two spouses who were always doing everything together, sharing their lives together, and that's why when we encourage people to do things together to bond, the disadvantage there is that it will also be difficult for you to live after one spouse is gone. So everything in life generally has an advantage and a disadvantage. After accepting that the reality is there, they are gone, and you will never see them, the next thing to do is allow yourself to go through the process of grief. Nobody should tell you not to cry. Crying is a kind of is part of therapy, because we see people. So most times when you go to you meet a widow or a widower, and maybe they are shedding tears, they're expressing the pains, that inner pains that words could not express, and telling them not to cry is not helping them. If you are there in telling them not to cry, no, tell them to cry it out. Even in counseling, when you come for counseling and it's so painful, we have tissue. I think the best thing we do is we just give you tissue to cry it out. It's part of therapy. Empty it out, let it out. Even in counseling, we'll sit and wait for you to cry. When you finish crying, then we proceed. It's but normal. You can. There's some pains that you cannot keep them within you. They must find a way to go out. And pain is like anger. It's like a kind of spirit. When it comes in you, when it comes into you, it must look for a way to go out. That's why you see some people hit when they're angry. They're letting out that spirit is going out. And that's why we encourage inhaling and exhaling, deep breathing when you're angry. Because as you're inhaling and exhaling, you're letting out that anger. So that the same way that pain that is in you, that inner pain, it can't just leave you. You have to cry it out. Let it out. If you have to talk, you have to cry, do it. It's part of therapy. Because if you don't cry it out, if you try to be strong, you're putting yourself in harm's way. And the truth is that you're going to develop what we call a post-traumatic disorder. And this is a disorder that comes later in life because you were struggling to hold on to something that you will allow it to flow. Okay, so grieving, and then one thing you should know about grief is that grief comes in waves. There are times that you just sit, even emotions, there are times that you just sit and just be in shock and just be looking at places like you're not seeing, you are in another world. You just stare at places, just stare at people. It's like you're in a different planet. There are times that you might even look at the past pictures you had, the memories. You even smile. Sometimes some of those smiles is just kind of, it doesn't go deep. Just smile, a kind of, smile that is just not really deep. Sometimes you can really be genuinely happy for knowing that person, being with them, enjoying them for the time that they were together, that you had them. And there are times that you might have even anger, you might have bitterness, you might go sad, you can even go depressed. If it's not well managed, you can get into depression. So it comes with a lot. But one thing for sure is, no matter how the pains are, be grateful for the moments that you both share together. I know that even if it were two couples that were always fighting, yeah, they can fight, but there are some couples that can fight, but they cannot live without each other. And if it happens that death takes one, even though they were always fighting, but they still had some few moments that they could cherish. Look at those moments. Think of those moments, and then be grateful for them. Understand that now you have to face all the responsibilities all alone. Maybe you have kids. Yes, it's you now on those kids. Maybe both as a mother and as a father. So you have a lot, and for that reason, this calls for you to take care of yourself. Without taking care of yourself, you're going to break down, and if you break down, you will affect the kids. So your kids being there is enough reason. It gives you enough hope, enough reasons, enough courage to keep living. So take care of yourself. Maybe sleep might be a problem. You might need some sleeping medications. Maybe eating is a problem. Yes, you might. It's normal. You lost appetite. You have sleeping issues. You might need medications for this that can help you for the meantime. And one thing is exercising. Yes, you I know you'll be so broken down that you may not be able to do anything, but exercising makes you tired, and tiredness might help you to sleep. Okay, even exercising makes you feel thirsty. You might want to drink water, and water is needed. Your body needs water. So try to do a lot of exercise. And then one very important thing you must do, even before getting to therapy. Yes, you go to therapy, you need counseling, you need go through therapy, and even find yourself, maybe get support groups, grief support groups. But one thing you must do is find new routines, something that you can do now alone without your spouse. That is how you can regain yourself, and then get back your feet on the ground. Because if you want to keep doing the things that you were doing together, it will be difficult for you to do them because you always feel their absence. And again, please note that the loss of a spouse is not something that you can get over it. You can only learn to live with it. Thank you.